Howdy, it's Kyle with another installment of Examining Interesting Maps, where we look at some nice maps from around the web. This is part 8 in the series, and I will leave links to the other 7 in the description, but for this video I wanted to announce that for the next one I want to include viewer-made maps. So if you have a nice map you would like to see maybe included in the next video, please send it to me by email. You can go to my channel homepage and under About you can find my address and just send me a nice map, and maybe I will include it for the next one. But yeah, let's get on with Examining Interesting Maps, Part 8. I want to start off with a map that's very timely as to when I'm posting this. This shows the best results of each country for soccer's World Cup. And of course, outside of the US and Canada, it's known as football, but this shows just how well these countries have done. As you can see, all of the champions have been either from Europe or South America. So many of these countries that have made the World Cup have just gotten into it by qualifying but not advanced. This map shows percent of households with no vehicle ownership based on 2020 census data. And there are some decent correlations here. Some of the dark red spots are going to be where you have an indigenous reservation. Of course, much of Alaska is going to be car-free. There's also some dark red in the Mississippi Delta area and some of the poorer areas of rural Appalachia. And you can also see some of the big cities on this map: New York, Chicago, San Francisco, areas where you have a lot of people that don't have a car. Another city with a relatively low car ownership is Boston, and this map shows how some of the land has been reclaimed through the years. So the dark green areas are the original land of the Boston area. The areas highlighted in gray are the places that have been reclaimed since. You can see the harbor in there and all, but only that green area is the original land of the natural Boston area. Here's an old map of the San Francisco Bay Area highlighting the brand new Dumbarton Bridge. And why this is interesting for me is I didn't realize that Dumbarton Bridge is the oldest bridge over the bay. The Dumbarton Bridge opened up in 1927, the San Mateo Hayward Bridge a couple years later, and the Golden Gate Bridge 1937. And to this day, this is still the southernmost crossing of the San Francisco Bay. Here's a map showing which countries have the most islands. And you'll see the top 3 are all in the same part of the world. There are just so many tiny little islands in some of these inlets, but they're not big islands, but there's a huge number of them. So no real surprises as the countries that are on this list, but I think the big surprise is how many more islands Sweden and Finland have. I think there may have been some discrepancy in how Norway counts islands. There may actually be more islands in Norway than either Sweden or Finland, but either way, there are a ton of islands in this part of the world. This map shows how countries offer citizenship. And I know there are some errors on this map, so yes, I am showing a map that I know has mistakes on it, but I wanted to show just generally what this map highlights. And so you can see a very obvious trend here with the Americas being the part of the world where you have rule of land, so if you're born there, you're granted citizenship. And the reason why you see this there is because this is the part of the world that was conquered by Europeans, so as the Europeans conquered these lands, they decided to make the rules so that if we're born here, we're going to be citizens. But shocking surprise, these same European countries don't offer the same level of citizenship for people born within their borders. But zooming in on Europe, this map shows the percentage of the population that is left-handed. Now this is based off of an internet survey, but I would think something like this isn't going to have a whole lot of lies in terms of the survey. And as a left-handed person, I do have to say that we are in fact a superior Homo sapiens, so it doesn't really surprise me at all to see that the wealthier countries in Europe tend to have more left-handed people and the poorer countries have fewer lefties. And this map is all you will ever need to show with immutable proof that lefties are in fact superior humans. And I can tell you a right-handed person did this map because look at some of these countries. What is this? Austria-Hungary, Czechoslovakia? There's also Yugoslav, Albania. Yeah, definitely done by a righty. Heading over to India, I really find this to be an interesting map. A lot of Americans may be surprised just how popular KFC is throughout the world. I think it's second only to McDonald's in terms of the number of fast food restaurants on Earth. So you can see a large correlation here between the parts of India where you have more vegetarians and fewer KFCs. And even though there are a lot in Uttar Pradesh, there are also 250 million people in that one state. Although I would be curious to know just how similar KFC is in a place like India. This is another beautiful map that shows the distribution of habitats for various types of turtles. So really nice aesthetics on this map, and you can see where all the species come together around New Orleans and the central Gulf Coast. And just a quick use of the Google, all tortoises are turtles, but not all turtles are tortoises. We get all kinds of turtles around our house, and one thing that's pretty funny is our dog is afraid of turtles. There was one chilling out on our front steps. Our dog just hung out there. He would not come up the steps as long as that turtle was there. But one thing this map does not show is that there's a unique species of turtle found only in Maryland, Testudo the terrapin. This map shows annual snowfall at the U.S. county level, so no big surprises here in terms of the lake effect snow in the Midwest and Northeast. But even though you see the big stories about some of these big lake effect snow dumps, the actual snowiest counties in the country are in central Colorado. But some interesting things to point out, look at the southeastern corner of Alaska, not really that much snow. People are often surprised it doesn't really snow that much in Seattle. And south central New Mexico is as far south as you can go in the US and still find areas with 2 or 3 feet of snow per year. This is a nice simple map that I got off of Instagram. So the shape in the middle of the US is the country of Germany. And you can see all of the natural national parks in the US, if you add up their total area, is actually almost the size of the entire country of Germany. And most of these national parks are completely wilderness, so imagine somewhere in Europe the size of Germany that is entirely wilderness. Here's a very fascinating map based on home insurance claims. I love maps like this that show a very obvious correlation, but it's not at all political. So the obvious correlation here is north-south, so what is going on? I'm not sure exactly the case, but I do know that crime is higher when it's hotter outside. For whatever reason, crime is higher in the summer and when it's warmer. I don't know if heat makes people go crazy or what. Although Washington being second to worst is a bit of an anomaly on this. But whatever the case is, if you want your house to have a less chance of being broken into, move up north. Here's a map I wanted to highlight almost simply because of just how nice it looks. The data is good too. It shows population change in the urban areas for Georgia. I'm not sure why Macon and Columbus were excluded from this, but it shows that the Atlanta metro area is about 2/3 of the urban population of the state. But it also shows that Georgia isn't just Atlanta and a bunch of tiny farm towns either. There are quite a few smaller cities in the state like Augusta, Savannah, and again Macon and Columbus, so there is a lot more urban population in the state than you might think, and plus some of those outer areas of the Atlanta metro area aren't very urban. They are still kind of rural, being sucked in by the metro area, but Georgia is a more urban state than people think. And because I'm so anti-political, I wanted to show some anti-political maps. A huge problem we have right now is gerrymandering, so what this creator did was make different gerrymandered maps for each party. So as you can see, you can finagle it either way to get it to be dominant for one party or the other. And the map at the bottom is really how North Carolina's district should be looking. So it makes perfect sense that perhaps the most politically right down the middle state in the country would have 5 districts for each party with 3 swings. But yeah, gerrymandering is the devil. This map shows the railway network in Ireland 1920 and 2020. And no, these maps are not flip-flopped. Ireland has actually regressed in terms of its railway network. So most other parts of Europe are going the opposite direction, going more rail, high-speed rail, but not Ireland. I'm not sure if it's an issue with keeping them maintained or if there just isn't much public desire for rail or whatever, but it certainly isn't topography. But whatever's going on there, the current rail network in Ireland is much less than you would expect for a European country. Here's one that shows the most popular sport in each country per a recent survey. As you can see, football is by far the most popular sport in the world. But you do have a few large countries that have an individual sport that's very popular that makes the map change because the country's so big. Canada with hockey, China with basketball, and Australia with Aussie rules football. You see baseball in Japan, Venezuela, and other parts of Central America and the Caribbean, but I am surprised that South Korea's most popular sport is not baseball. I had never even heard of Gaelic football, but apparently it's popular in Ireland. Cricket is most popular in South Asia, including apparently Afghanistan. And you gotta love that little yellow splotch between India and China for Bhutan. Archery is the most popular sport there apparently. You see wrestling for Mongolia, but I thought that also Iran, the most popular sport, was wrestling, but apparently not. And interestingly enough, it's not the most popular sport there, but water polo is incredibly popular in both Hungary and Croatia. And the creator tried hard to have a map without New Zealand, but it barely shows up. Rugby is the most popular sport there. So lastly, I wanted to show what I think is the most beautiful map in this video and really a work of art. This map shows just the paths of cyclones over the country. We call these hurricanes in North America, but this map does not show any land at all. So now compare that to this topographic map of the country. So as you can see, just about everywhere in the Philippines has had a cyclone track go directly over it, as you basically see the outline of the country with just the tracks. So a gorgeous map here, and I wanted to give a shout out to the creator David Garcia. So that was Examining Interesting Maps Part 8, and I post videos in this series about quarterly, so look for the next one in this series about 3 months from the date of this one being posted. And again, if you've created a map you would like to submit to maybe be used in the next video, check out my channel homepage. You can go under the About tab and send it to me from there. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up to let me know you approve, and subscribe to this channel if you're interested in learning more about geography. I'm doing maps, videos like this, and all kinds of other stuff as well. But yeah. Thanks for watching. Geography King, signing out. I'd like to give a special thanks to my superior patrons for their support, especially Ethan C. If you would like to purchase a pin for the viewer pin map that I update every now and then, or just to support the channel, check out my Patreon page, link in the description. And as always, thank you very much.